You're all set.
Okay. I'll call this meeting of the DeKalb County Council in session. Today's date is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. We'll begin with opening prayer. Councilman Rick Collins, please.
All right. Yes, last week we lost a great public servant, retired DeKalb County Sheriff Don Lauer, and I would ask if you would join me in a moment of silence. Well, Father, you teach us how to serve when we're public servants, and Don Lauer was certainly that. He served our community, he served our county, he served his family and his church, and he served you. And so we reflect on that today. Today I pray that we would have that same heart of servanthood as we serve the citizens of DeKalb County and use the wisdom that you've bestowed upon us to make decisions that are good for this county and good for our citizens. Bless our time together, give us clarity of thought. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, would you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have 2 sets of minutes to look at. Hopefully everybody's taken a look at them. The first set we'll look at is from the council meeting on April 9th of 2025. Are there any additions or corrections? I have one question. On the second page, matter of airport update. There's a paragraph, it talks about there were 14 maintenance jobs last meeting, then Councilman Chalmers briefed the board. This was all from the airport minutes or the meeting there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, because at first I looked at that and I thought, well, this was commissioners, I don't know if it was council, but this was all just as a discussion.
This was the paperwork that he provided to everybody. That was the notes from theirs.
That answers my question. Does anybody else have any additions or corrections to the April 9th minutes? We'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Are we doing the 9th and 28th together?
I was going to do them separate, but.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the April 9th minutes. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? April 9th minutes are approved. Then we have one set of minutes from April 28th of 2025 from the council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
Yes, on the matter of Sunny Meadows, the job description. I'm sorry, I'm under the wrong thing. I thought that was the stipend.
You're good, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other additions or questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion for approval. We have a motion by Rick Collins. Do we have a second? Rick Ring, you made the motion. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Rick Collins down here. So do we have a second? Second, Amy Prosser. Any further questions? All those in favor of approving the April 28th, 2025 minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, looking at, moving on to additionals. We have one additional, and this is coming from the Public Defender's Office. And the fund name is supplemental fund number is 1200, account number 32780. Account title is other service fees. The amount requested is $16,000. Was it included in the annual budget request? And the answer is no. This was not in the works in 2024 to write into the budget. How will this appropriation be used? It will be used to pay for Axon Justice Program cloud storage for discovery. Specific cost of the items is $15,959.60. How was this cost determined? This is a prorated cost from May 1, 2025 through the end of the year. Is this a reoccurring expense? Yes. This will be included in the 2026 budget. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that liaison was Dave Yard, and it was via email. We talked briefly about this at the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve $16,000 from the public defender as an additional? We have a motion by Rick Ring to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Prosser. Okay, any further discussion from the council on this? Yeah. And then, well, there was additional that could come later, but this is to get it from what, May 1 through the end of the year, I'm sorry. Any further discussion from the council? If not, we'll
Was this
call for
being used by two departments? This was being used by not just the public defender, but also the prosecutor's office,
this is
defender's office. Okay.
Yeah, well, is this a 40% rebate, pay?
Public defender will get 40% back.
Okay, of that 16,000.
Yeah.
Any further questions? If not, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the $16,000 additional for the public defender signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried and the additional is approved. Okay, transfers, we have two. First one comes from Human Resources, and it is from the County General Fund number 1001. The objective number is 000 and the locational number is 0035. The amount to be transferred is $450. Again, it's from account 33340, advertising and recruiting notices, to account 22115. The account title is the years and service plaques for $450. Why is this transfer needed? Commissioners want to present plaques to employees reaching 10, 20, 30, and 40 years of service and have tasked Human Resources with ordering, paying, and providing them. Will additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes, and the liaison was Amy Prosser. Do we have a motion to approve the $450? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Amy Prosser. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick Ring. Any further discussion from the council regarding the service plaques?
Is this something new, or we've done this all along?
Kellen Dooley had asked that, thought it was a good idea to start giving some recognition.
Oh, I'm not against it,
Yeah.
I never seen this before.
They're on we've always done paper certificates.
Oh,
The plaques are gonna be like certain years, 5, 10, 15, 20, I think.
and-
Do we, any further discussion? Now we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the $450 for service recognition plaques of 10, 20, 30, and 40 years signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. This is a nice touch, really is. So well deserved there. Okay, we have one other, if you take and turn your transfer request over, and this comes from the JCC Academy. Let's see, and it's from the discretionary grant fund, fund number 9130. So the account number it's coming from is 9130.2219.025.0913. The account title is Drug Enforcement Supplies, and it's being transferred to account number 9130, decimal point 44430, decimal point 025, .0913 from the equipment to the equipment fund for $18.75. And if we have consensus, we can do both of these together. Do we have consensus? Thank you. And the second one is from account number 9130.348080, .025, .0913 from the building lease account being transferred to 9130.44430, .025, .0913 to the equipment fund for $88.54. Why is this transfer needed? See attached IDOC grant amendment request. This transfer has already been approved by the IDOC. Will additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes, and that was Amy Dembski. Do we have a motion to approve the two transfers?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Dembski. Any further discussion from the council? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of transferring the two funds signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is granted. Okay. You have before you then a list of non-approval transfers. And at this time, we're going to move on to Randy Fox and the airport update. Thanks for coming, Randy. Good morning.
No, put them together.
Good morning, all. Well, we are moving forward with projects. The south side properties that we own that border up along Old 427 and south where the crosswind runway was intended to be. Back in 1967, I actually saw it on some drawings. We don't want to be snake oil salesmen, so our engineering company is looking at doing some soil borings on the first, what we consider 4 lots that would be closest to 427 to assure that the property is suitable for construction without lots of stabilization and removing and reinstalling materials and things. So we're going to, at our expense, we're going to go ahead and do those soil borings and see what that is before we start advertising heavily. We have received questions from 2 different real estate companies about assisting us to market that property. They seem to think that that's in a pretty good place, close to I-69. It's got 3-phase, it's got water, it's got sewer, it's got internet, and they think it's a prime construction area. From our standpoint, whatever goes in there, we really want to lease the property so we have some control and make sure that the companies that go in there are compatible with the airport. So we're working on that. We did reapportion our budget and move money into our rainy day fund as we do every year, and to the cumulative building fund. The new automated weather observation system is installed in the airport. Apparently, we've had some issues with some frequencies and things, but they're working on that. The device actually has some lights that shine between each other. It can tell you how thick the fog is at ground level. It tells the pressure, wind direction, all that to the pilots, and it's automated so someone doesn't have to be there to do that constantly. Sweet Aviation's brand new truck had, according to Russ here, had a catastrophic, it says a major, the email said catastrophic engine failure. And so we were unable to provide the Jet A fuel to any of the helicopters and or aircraft that were needing that. So a notice to airmen on your thing, it says a NOTAM. It's a shorthand for a notice to airmen went out that we were without Jet A. It took 2.5 days to get a truck to replace it. And the NOTAM was canceled, and we were back in operation, able to deliver the Jet A fuel again. Didn't do us any good to have 25,000 gallons sitting in the storage tanks when we couldn't move it 500 feet to put it in an airplane. So that's all caught up, and the truck will be repaired at some point shortly. And again, since Sweet has other airports that they're servicing now as their fixed base operator, my assumption is that they'll eventually find some equipment that they can keep as a backup for just such an occurrence. And lastly, our meeting is Friday at 1. Usually, I don't know, I've never been out there before noon, but we have a fly-in free luncheon that's available in the main hangar at the terminal. And you're all welcome to come out, have a free lunch, and attend the meeting if you'd like. And with that, I'll take questions.
Randy, are you going to have a warbird fly-in or anything this summer out there?
We've still got construction going on, and so I'm not sure exactly. We did a fly-in like that a couple of years ago, and it was reasonably successful. The only thing that caught us off guard was we were going to have an A-10 come up for static display and do some flybys. And the general showed up at 8 o'clock that morning and wanted to do an inspection of the air base. And so they grounded everybody for the day. And about 3:45 that afternoon, we heard on the radio the A-10 was inbound, and he made 2 passes across the runway at about 50 feet. Rolled out, disappeared. But it was very successful. We've been under construction pretty much ever since. And our last major construction activity will be the resurfacing of the runway next year. My understanding is they're going to mill down 5 inches into the existing blacktop, take all that out, mix it with some new bitumen. Is that the proper term? Sure you guys know, whatever the binding agent is, add some more aggregate as necessary, and then resurface the old 5,000 feet of the runway next summer, and then the construction's over. And I'll mention it at the board meeting that you thought about it, because it was an interesting, I went out and helped set up, tear down and all, and presented during that last fly-in we had, and it was very successful, lots of people.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Randy?
You know, you're where you're gonna bore it, you're just looking for factories to come in that's related to airports, right?
Yeah, the FAA has a list of qualifications, and they have to produce no, organic waste, so it attracts birds and animals. It has to be low intensity. They can't have 7-story buildings. You don't want 1,000 people in a building that an airplane runs into. So there's a series of requirements that we really want these industries to meet, and to make sure that it's safe for them, and it's also safe for the pilots and the airport in general.
Thank you.
Bill mentioned the word factories. It's not limited to factories.
No, it's
Maybe
not.
warehousing.
Yeah, warehousing, stuff like that, but probably not retail space where you'd have, large parking lot full of cars and people in and out all the time.
Anybody else have any questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy. Great report, very informative.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Okay, next item on your agenda is the Carnahan Farms abatement discussion. Last meeting, Rick, who chairs the Tax Abatement Committee, brought you information recommending abatements for Carnahan Farms for real estate and for the equipment side. But before we could do that, we had to have a declaratory resolution done for the economic revitalization area, and that's what we have here. But this has to be approved first by the council.
And then there's a public hearing at the next meeting, and you either confirm or deny.
So what we need right now is a motion to approve the preliminary declaratory resolution for the creation of an economic revitalization area for the KD Carnahan Farms. I'm not going to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick Ring. Do we have a second?
I'll
Second by
second.
Bill Van Wy. Any questions or further discussions? This is not approving the abatement. This is just approving the declaratory resolution for the creation of an economic revitalization area, which is a preliminary before we go to the next step. Questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the declaratory resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried 6-1, one aye vote, or negative vote there. Okay. Somebody have some comment? Okay. Moving on to the next item on your agenda is the 2025 salary and hour wage ordinance amendment for the DeKalb County Council to look at. It's ordinance number 2025-OCC-4. It's amending ordinance number 2024-OCC-10. It's job classification and wage range by department, and this is for Sunny Meadows. The account is 11482. This is from funds 100, location 0024. It is for the matron, effective for 2025 due to changes at Sunny Meadows. Category is Comat A, biweekly, pay up to a maximum of $1,879.20. Now, this would be approval, first of all, for title only, and I have read the title for that. Do we have a motion to approve the title only for this 2025 salary and hourly wage ordinance amendment? Do we have a motion to approve this salary amendment?
Is this
Title
something?
only.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the title only on first reading and a second by Bob Kraft. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving first reading title only for the salary amendment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Now, the next step would be to suspend the rules and do this on second and third reading. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules regarding the salary amendment?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bill Van Wy to suspend the rules. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Rick Collins. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried and the rules have been suspended. Now we're looking at passing the ordinance on second and third reading. Do we have a motion to approve on second and third reading the salary amendment ordinance? I'm sorry, who was that by? Amy Dembski. Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Just putting the matron back onto the, we didn't put the matron on the salary ordinance for 2025 because there never was one. But we're putting it back on because that position is back with some other duties to see out the life of the facility.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions from the council? If not, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the salary amendment ordinance on the second and third reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Salary ordinance has been approved. Okay, moving on to the wheel tax. And I'm going to turn this over to Bill Van Wy.
There already?
We're there.
I hope everyone got a packet sent to you or in your stuff here. For right now, it's more for information, what we're doing. The crossroad grants, if we want to move our county up to get even more money from the state, we have to have some sort of a wheel tax. It's a new deal, and we don't know how short we are going to be on our money this year, so we started looking into wheel tax, and I don't know what else. It explains to you what we can look at. We can, like on our tires, it's like per vehicle from $7.50 up to $50, and then on the big, and it has. And let me back up a little bit. On the small vehicles like your car and motorcycles and trailers, small trailers, that is actually called a excise surtax. We have to pass that along with the wheel tax to which is on the bigger vehicles like your trailers, your semis, and stuff like that. And as the program go, we can go from $5 minimum to $80 maximum on the semis and stuff, and on the cars we can go up to $50 from $5. So, and it explains in here what we can generate and everything on the back page there. And I'm not doing very good. How much money we can raise if we go up to the maximum rate and everything, and how much we raise at the minimum rate. I was hoping to have, Ben was supposed to get me some information on, and maybe Rick's got it, on some of the projects and what they're going to cost in the next couple of years, what we're going to have to finance and everything, and whether we can do some of the projects. But in my area, I always do complain about 4 and 12, but some of those roads that really took a beating this fall and winter. I mean, really took a beating, more than what I thought it would be. So we're going to look at this. I'm going to try to get Jennifer Starkey, is her name, come in and talk to us how we do it and what different things. My goal is to have 3 or 4 options to present, like if we go the minimum, the maximum, or something in between. And there's certain things we've had, and I had a discussion with a couple farmers, and they were complaining about the $80 per semi-trailer, which I was doing my figuring. That's $1,000. That's $1,000 just for me of extra for a month. But as I was telling them, the grain trucks and stuff does more damage, or on the county roads more than the commercial vehicles. Commercial vehicles are more on 6 and stuff. So we were trying to discuss that because they were trying to move that down. But I told them if I move one down, I'm going to move everybody down. It's my goal. But I am trying to put a program so we can look at it in June, then move on. I think it's September 1st. We have to have a vote. We got to have a public hearing and everything on this. I'm not very good at explaining things. I should have had her come do it But
We have to adopt by September 1st so that it will go in effect
Yeah.
for January 1st. So this is May, June, so we could have her come in June if you.
I'm going
guys
to try to
wanted
get her.
come.
She said she would come down and talk to us and everything.
And then I'm also working with Jeff Peters so that he can come do our fiscal plan update also. So maybe they both might be here.
Yeah, have both here in June so we can present.
Ben is still working on information.
Yeah.
But what I have and what you and I had when we met with Jen was information that Ben had put together last year and gave to us in December.
2 years ago.
This information.
Oh, yeah.
This was actually last December. You know, just a couple of facts out there, and I'll send this off to everybody to make sure that everybody's got this. You should have it from last year, but if not, I'll send it out again. There are 51, now number one, the PACER rating does not involve gravel roads. It only involves paved roads. That's number one. Currently at this time in December when this report was done, 51.2 miles of our paved roads had a Pacer rating of 4 or less. And the goal is to get all of the roads to be a level 5, evaluated at a level 5 or greater. The 51 miles of roads is 12% of our county roads. We actually have 700 miles of roads, but only about 400 miles of it is actually paved roads. With the capital projects that he listed at the time, the need was for $35,035,000 is what the total need was. And the projects that he listed were to widen County Road 23 for 6 miles, County Road 60 from 35 to St. Joe, needed, it doesn't specifically say what he was going to do, whether it was just to repave it or
I think
to
it's,
rebuild it.
I think it's a little bit of everything. That one is going to be between 20,
That's the one that was talked about Saturday, or this past
Monday.
Monday,
That's going to be
right?
20 or 22 million, I think, just for that.
Well, it's 23.5
Okay.
million.
I was say it was
is.
20 something.
Yeah,
From 35 to St. Joe on 60.
on 60. And then 60 from I-69 to 427 is another 5 million. County Road 68, 20.5 miles, is another 3.2 million. County Road 327, mill and overlay, 4 miles, is 720,000. County Road 427, mill and overlay, 5.75 miles for 1,035,000. So there was a total of 35,000, or 35,035,000 is what the total was. No, this sheet that I'm looking is something that we were given last year, back in December. I'll resend it so that you've all got it again, because it's also got the piece that that LTAP put out about the wheel tax attached to it. So you'll have all of it. Some other things that he's got on here: conversion gravel to chip and seal is 130,000 per mile. That's material only. And gravel to asphalt is 251,000 per mile. Now, none of what we're talking about is asking that any gravel road be paved, period. That needs a whole new look. And Jennifer, I believe, sent us, Steuben County has a policy as to when they will pave a road. She sent us that as an example.
Yeah, I'll get that. I see that. I'll get that sent on to everybody, what the deal is on that too.
But I guess the bottom line that Bill was talking about is we need to decide how much money do we need to bring all of our roads up to a level 5 or greater, and at what period of time are we talking about? You're certainly not going to do that in a year's time. If you want to bring everything up to a level 5 within 5 years, how much is that? If you want to bring everything up to a level 5 in 10 years, how much is that? You need a plan. You can also, in addition to road funding or building of roads, you can also use this money for bridges. If we have a weakness in our bridge fund, we can also use that. And then on top of all of that, the consideration needs to be made that in the new fiscal year with the state, with community crossings, the basic community crossing stays the same. But they now will have, after the first year, will have a second level of community crossing money that will be available. However, in order to qualify for that second round or that second group, you must have a wheel tax. If you don't have a wheel tax, you're not eligible to receive any of that money.
And also, Jennifer said on that second level, it also depends on it's got stages, you said 3 stages, depending on what your grade of your roads are and everything. So, you know, we need to get some roads up to certain standards before they'll give us more money.
Right.
I thought we had
understand
to
that
have
they-
the wheel I'm sorry.
Did I understand that they also cut a lot of the funding to the community crossings? Did they cut the funding to that?
No, the base is there. There is part of it that's being moved to rail crossings. There's the railroad improvement crossings. But the,
The amount that'll be available for roads will be smaller?
I don't believe so. I think
Okay.
it's going to be the same, but it's going to be distributed differently.
Okay.
But they're trying to think how, the question is, how much will be available in that next level tier? And I know what you're talking about. What they did change, Amy, was that it used to be that money was awarded based on road miles, and they changed it to lane miles. However, the determination by the Association of Counties is that counties will actually come out better in that respect than we thought. We always thought that it would always, if you change from road miles to lane miles, that counties and small towns would lose out because we don't have a lot of 3 and 4 and 5 lane roads. But apparently the way that it's worked out is that the counties and the smaller cities will actually come out ahead in this, so.
I was thinking, and I heard it the first time in detail the other night, I was thinking that we had to have the wheel tax to be able to get the automatic distribution.
No, I believe we get that, the initial part doesn't change. It's the second level that changes.
I'm pretty, because I asked Ryan Hoff about that, because I said, well, we don't have one right now, and
Unless
his
they made
comment to
some
me,
change.
his comment to me was, the county has to have, even if it's the absolute lowest amount, we have to have something to get the automatic distribution, and then we can also go into.
I don't believe that's the way it is.
Okay.
I do know that initially when it was proposed in the bill, that everybody assumed that you had to have the maximum wheel tax. That was removed. You don't. You can have the minimal amount. As long as you've got the wheel tax, you're in. But
Kind of like you, Susan. I thought that the amount might be reduced on the initial one if you did not have the wheel tax, not cut out, but maybe reduced, and then you needed to get to tier
I
2.
don't think so. That's not the, let me.
That's good. So I want to thank Bill Van Wy here for taking the lead on this here and getting the ball rolling. And Rick, you know, you participated with this also, so thank you both. This is something that's not new. We've batted this around a long time. The bottom line is that my contentious point is that we've been prudent with our money. We really have. And now it's coming down to where, okay, that doesn't count. You have to have a wheel tax to get to this next level. And we're being backed into a corner on this. And this is initial discussion. Again, we've had these initial discussions for years, but I think it's coming down to showtime real quick here.
And I think
We're going to have to be doing something.
I think it's important to point out that we're being backed into a corner by our state legislators, which is very disappointing.
Well, it is to get money. And I also wanted to point out on page 18 there in your thing, that tells you the range, you know, if we go minimum to maximum, what that DeKalb County would get. And if we go minimum, it's 308,000, and we go maximum, 2.347 million. So we got quite a range. I just want to know how people want to address this, because there's two things we've looked at, and we've talked to it, and we've talked to her up there. If we go maximum, we have no movement, no matter if we need to raise more money. If we go, say, instead of $50, save $40. Do we want to go through 2 public hearings? So, you know, I want you to think of that and look at it and see what you, and if you have any comments, email me or call me and say, hey, I want you to try this. And Jennifer's numbers on the back page, I don't know why Roy's was on there too, but she is more than willing to talk to you too, so, and she's up to Angola.
I guess I know the answer to the question, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway. There can be carve-outs on this. Certain vehicles could be exempt, possibly. Or,
Yeah, I think so. I think we can set a rate for certain vehicles, like if we, like the discussion was the other day when I was with those guys, and this is one we discussed, and this is, is farm trucks versus, farm semi-tractors versus, semi-tractors. Why can't that be lower compared to that? You know, you gotta look at each one of them, because like they're both $80 a vehicle, but your farm, like I told them, the farm trucks are on the county road more than what the commercial trucks are. So, and there was another big discussion on what some of the numbers here, and she said these are up to date, but some of these numbers look at, especially on semi-tractors, that there's more than 33 that's in DeKalb County, where they register them's not, so. That's one thing, you know, bring it to our attention, we can look at it, work it in, and we get everything in front of us so that we can have our public hearing sometime down the line and get more feedback into it.
but this needs to occur between now and September 1.
Yeah. So we'll have July and August to have hearings.
I think the bottom line here is we need to develop a plan if we're going to bring our roads up to a level 5, and that's average. That's the middle of the road. That's not even top of the line. That's middle of the road. We're going to bring all of our roads up to a level 5. We need to know how much is that going to cost, and how long are we willing to wait to get that done? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? You need a plan so that we know how much money we need to generate. If we can do it without a wheel tax, then we do it without a wheel tax. But without a plan, without an understanding of what we need, we cannot make a good decision. As far as it's debatable. I know I personally feel both ways, that yes, the legislator might have backed us into a corner, but the legislators are saying, hey, we're giving you all of these tools. You can choose to use the tools or not use them. That's up to you. So, if you don't want to, you're here to make decisions for the county. You use the tools you got. They could, what they could do is they could take it all away from us, and they could do it all from Indianapolis. Well, none of us want that. We want to be able to make our own decisions.
And I agree with that, Rick. I agree that I feel like this is better, as somebody pointed out, it's a better home rule decision for us because we can control the dollars on a county level. I like that about this. I really do. I know that, though, people are hurting, and a little extra taxes, it's easy to talk about, it's hard to implement for sure. So I would challenge the council moving forward as we make decisions on budgets, let's make sure that we're trying to cut our spending rather than continuing to up our taxes. So that would be a challenge to this board.
Well, and we have been working on cutting spending for a number of years, so, and that we need to continue to do that. But, you are correct, and I think you all heard it from Ryan and from the meeting this past week, that coming into the next 3 years, a lot of the decisions have been moved to the council. The council is going to have a large amount of input and control over not only county, But in the cases of some of the cities and towns, the smaller cities and towns, we're gonna have some work to do with them to help them survive, because if you had a population of 3,500 or more, you could make some of your own decisions. So that's Auburn, that's Garrett. But Butler, Waterloo, St. Joe, Corona, Ashley, Hamilton are all going to be looking to the county council for some help, I'm sure.
As well as the libraries.
As well as the libraries and the other special taxing districts.
I did find my notes on, okay, so 100 million of the CCMG grants will be much as they are today, except for we'll have a lower 20, match at 20% instead of 25% for counties.
That's because of our size.
And that's, so we'll have 25 because we're not under the 55K. Then the amount over the 100 million will go into the direct distribution. And that fund, that is a set annual formula, not a grant. So that is the automatic thing that I was referring to, and I was thinking of it opposite. So in order to get that, that's the part we need the wheel tax for. So I had said it opposite. I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, well, and if you look at the fiscal report that's attached to House Bill 1461, Community Crossings matching grant funds for fiscal 26, 27, 28, and 29 is $100 million. For the Indianapolis Community Crossings distribution maximum, there is 0 for 26, and then 50 million each for 27, 28, and 29. And the total lane mile distribution to local units, nothing in 26, 190 to 254 million in 27, essentially 90 to 154 million in 28, and 123 to 174 million in 29. And I believe that's where you have to have the wheel tax to be eligible for that number. 26 doesn't have any of that because they're funneling a lot of money into this railroad crossing improvement business. So there's also some changes in there, and not whether any of our townships will qualify for this. This is something else we need to figure. It's now possible for if a township wants a particular road improvement that the county is not wanting to fund right away or can't fund right away, the township is allowed to take any extra money that they might have and put towards that road funding or that road project. They would have to work in conjunction with the highway department, the county highway department. They can't go out and do it on their own, but they could work with Ben Parker and the commissioners and say, we want this stretch of this road improved, and we have this much money that you can use. And they would pass it on to the county to be done. But
Townships typically have that additional funding that they can do that?
well, that's why I said not all townships will have that available to them. It is just if they do. It just depends on how their budgets have run and where the money's at. Is it in their general fund? If it's in their poor relief money, no, they can't use that. If it's in their fire fund, they can't use that. But if they've got it in their general fund, they could.
Hey, about 3 or 4 years ago, Ben Parker put a pretty detailed plan together on road priorities and cost. Am I wrong on that? Because I remember him presenting a plan to us here.
Yeah, he and Watson did that.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's trying to work that out again.
But I know that was a pretty extensive plan that they did put together. This is discussion only. We know where we're going to be here next meeting or two here on this. It's going to get much more involved and entailed here. But this is information only. We've been here before, but we're getting pushed into a corner now where we're going to have to make a hard decision. It's coming. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
What's that? There are 36 without the wheel tax.
And it's also, it shows which county don't have it in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Steuben has it, Wells County has
Noble
it,
County
Steuben
does.
has it. I don't know if Noble's got it or not right offhand.
I may be wrong, but I think they do.
Yeah. I don't know. But there's also a provision, Fort Wayne might have it, and Allen County doesn't. Because there are provisions for certain cities certain cities and towns would be able to have their own. And that's the other thing that needs to be pointed out, is that if we were to pass a wheel tax, I think we discussed this the last time, because we're doing it as a county, it has to be distributed among the cities and towns also. So if we pass it, then a certain amount would go to Auburn, Garrett, Butler, and they're all going to be in the same position that we're in. And some, like Butler and those, might
So,
even be less.
What Jody's passing out is Ben is listening, and he emailed me, said, this is on top of our current funding to bring our roads up to a level 5 the way things are now. But this will constantly keep changing as we go forward, so don't take it as set in stone, but this is the most current.
Hey, Rick, to answer your question, both New Haven and Fort Wayne has wheel tax. It's in here. There's several cities. Yeah, page 15. They don't show what county that has it, but they said 55 counties have it and 16 cities and towns have it. It's on page 16.
You know, page 18, the next to the last page, has a breakdown of the cities and the county, what their percentage of allocation would be. I think somebody, Rick, you brought that question up or something, somebody did, but it's page 18, next to the last page, has got a breakdown. Anything else right now on this? This is just a initial discussion, and we will be doing this much more extensive at the next meeting. Rick?
Just that the person, Jen Sharkey, that Bill's referring to, is currently the LTAP, or the Purdue Road person. She previously was the highway supervisor for Steuben County.
Engineer.
Steuben County engineer.
Engineer.
Anybody else, any questions, discussion? Okay, we're going to move on. Commissioner Bill Hartman.
Good morning. I walked in the door with nothing, and I've suddenly developed like 3 or 4 items. One thing I'd like to start out with concerning Don Lauer, a former sheriff. Received a request to fly the flag at half-staff, and they did approve that request until after his funeral, so that was granted by the county in favor of Don Lauer. And he'll be missed. He was a real, in my estimate, a sheriff, and really liked Don. But anyway, so that was the first thing I had.
Bill, to add to that, I just sent an email this morning to both council and commissioners' attorneys so that we can get a joint resolution put together for Don, like we have the other elected officials.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great, sure. Another thing on the wheel tax, the railroads, in addition to railroads getting 20 million, Marion County is, as I understand, getting 40 million right up front, right off the top of the silo that holds all this money. Marion County is getting 40 million for their roads. That would be nice.
And what did you say before that?
Railroads are 20, like Rick had
Oh,
stated.
the railroads, yes.
For railroad crossings. I don't know why we're funding the railroads, but I guess we are. Another thing concerning health insurance, we are holding a special meeting next Wednesday, May the 21st, to finalize that, get that wrapped up. It's quite a challenge, I'll put it that way. But, so we'll have a special meeting on next Wednesday. If anybody wants to attend that, you'd be welcome to
What was that?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Another thing I have, County Road 60, between 427 and 11A. Ben wants to apply for a federal grant again on that, much like he did on 56, because that road is a huge muck bog with a box structure through the creek, and that box structure is a hazard. If you hit that thing 30 miles an hour, you're going to be in trouble. It's that bad. And he tried to get it in, he wants to try to get it in as a safety, which would be a 90-10 grant. But they're telling him probably that is not going to happen, so it'd be an 80-20 match. But that road is really bad, and that muck bog, probably going to have to bridge the whole muck bog. It's that low. Every time it rains very much, it's flooded. We've had cars go almost completely under on that road. So that's kind of his preliminary plan on that. We did approve, I think, Monday, some money for start the engineering on that. So that was something that we get to get it started. It's going to be several years down the road to get that grant approved and get that project done. So we'll have some time to accumulate that match, but there again, another challenge to the budget.
Bill, has there been any further discussion as to where the next interchange in DeKalb County would be? Is 60 one of those?
It could be the county line, it could be 60, it could be 68. 68 is probably the most logical, looking at the topography of that. The fact that 60 has a lot of wetland around it, would all have to be remediated, I assume. So that may not be a good choice. It's just, and there again, the wetland, as you talked about in the bridge, is rather close to that interchange.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. If I don't know what NERC has looked at as far as another exchange, because I'm sure they've looked at those, and if that was a possibility, maybe it could be a state project and not.
Well, then that was another thing that I thought about too, that maybe we could get some other help with that. Fixing that road and bringing it up to where it should be.
Bill, when you referenced the 60 project, 427 to 11A.
Yes.
Correct. But the muck area you're talking about from 427 to the bridge, 69, is that or is there area west of 69?
Mostly it's east.
East of 69.
East of 69.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, and then
that's
it's right off of
treacherous.
69.
That's
And like I say, it's
DeKalb
wetland.
County's worst.
The other bad thing about an interchange there, if they get off there and go to 11A, that 11A interchange is terrible. It's on a hill, it's got a strange angle to it. So I don't know whether they would even consider that with that problem. But that's up to them, you know, they'll make that decision, and how much input we'll have on that, I don't know. But my guess is it's going to be either county line or 68. 68 already has a bridge. It might be cheaper if the bridge is good for several more years. County line would take the bridge and everything, but it's a clean slate, and the topography is rather good at the county line. In addition to that, if there are any other questions, I had another. Okay. You know, I think that is it. Oh, I got my notes. Any questions? Okay,
Bill, appreciate it. Thank
you
you.
bet.
Okay, anything else amongst the council to discuss?
Is there any update on the residence apartment at the Sunny Meadows? As far as, there was a date, I think, is it this Friday? That's the date coming this Friday that would be
She'll be moved out on Friday.
this Friday?
Was that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
Yes.
Okay, and that's a go. That's everything's in motion there as far as you know.
Yep, and then, well, I think Kellen is gonna get a hold of somebody and have somebody come clean it.
Right.
And then the matron will be able to go in.
Thank you. Thanks, appreciate that.
How many residents do we have out there There-
16,
Okay,
I think
so drop down again.
16, yeah. And I just talked with the lady that's helping with transition and stuff, and I know there's a possibility, I believe, that we have 4 that are about ready to go to another place, and a 5th one that I believe is now going in June or July? June, maybe? Is that right, Lita? June or July, yeah. So it's coming along.
I didn't know if there was a target date for having it completely vacated, or if it was just gonna happen when it happened.
Well, she's,
Next May is the target date.
yeah,
It's no later because that's when the insurance would be due on it, and we want to be closed before that. Needs to be renewed. I think there's, 17 out there, actually?
we had one go. We had one leave
go.
already. Yeah, so we're at 16.
There are 2, I wish Kellen was here, but there are 2, I think 2 that could move out on their own,
Yep.
but they have requested some funds to help them do that.
So we have some like that. We also have like the 4 that I had discussed, like they're gonna need like a down payment, and then there's like fees to do your applications and whatnot. And there's a large amount of money in the donation fund for Sunday Meadows, and that is to be used for the residents, like help with the residents. So I'll be able to utilize that for some of their down payments, and then we're gonna make sure that like all of them that are there at least get something from that. So like some might get their down payment paid, and somebody else, they may, if they need like a dresser or something, they may get something that's going to help them with their next step. So all that money, because all the donations from the community and whatnot, all that will go for those residents. It's not going to be kept by the county at all.
And it may have changed, but I don't know what kind of furniture they would need, but some of those things that they have in their personal room, they could probably take that stuff
Yeah.
with them. There's a chest of drawers and.
Yeah, that's pretty much been agreed that they could take those items. And as far as the money, I know the one resident, he can move out immediately, but he does not have the down payment to get an apartment. So if he doesn't get help with that, he's going to stay for another, how many months till he can accumulate those funds. Well, in that month's time, then we're going to be feeding and taking care of him and housing him. So it's kind of a, do you pay now so he can go ahead and move, or do you wait and support him until he can move? And so it's kind of a, but if we've got some extra money in the funds, I'm not opposed to giving something to help him, give him a leg up to get moved.
Brenda and I are in constant contact 24 hours a day. So we're working out the logistics of how to get the money where it needs to be so that they can get onto their next step and see things through.
Anything else from the council? Hearing nothing. Rick?
I move that we adjourn.
All those in favor?